Okay, hey, I'm Kelly from Bespoke Creative Design. I'm normally seen painting murals. I'm a freelance artist, or making props such as this, which I'll just reach over and grab, which I should have got before. So we've got Mary Poppins, umbrella head there, or fake props for shows and things like the ice cream, and I have a cupcake and donuts. Things like this. This is what I'm normally doing. However, thanks to this wonderful pandemic that's hit us all, I've had to think outside of the box slightly and try to move things online. So today I did the first of my online workshops. They are paid workshops. Quick plug, there are still spaces available for Thursday and Friday to make these Day of the Dead skulls very quickly. All my details can be found on my website, which I'll put the details of below. But as I was sitting here teaching this today, I looked out the window and I thought, crikey, it's really grim out there. And then I had a little look online, and there's not an awful lot going on at the moment, understandably, for things for parents or carers or grandparents to do with the children over the half term. And it looks pretty grim outside, and it looks like it's going to be for the rest of the week. So I thought it might be quite nice to do a couple of free workshops, simple craft making workshops for people that are at home that might have some odd scraps of things lying around. You don't need to be going out to Hobbycraft and buying anything expensive. So it's just a little freebie to see if I can help at all, to fill an hour maybe or so. So today's themes I showed you was the Day of the Dead skulls. So I was trying to make a cheap and accessible version for that for anybody who may be at home. So we've come up with this idea of a paper plate Day of the Dead skull, and you can be as elaborate with this as you want to be depending on what materials you have at home. I'm quite lucky, I'm a bit of a hoarder, as anybody who knows me will tell you. So I keep hold of, I don't know, sweetie wrappers sometimes, you know, like you get with the Quality Streets and things like that, buttons, sequins, old cards, things like that, stickers. I hang on to them all because you never know when they're going to be useful. So you might have a little collection like that at home, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll stop talking. I'll give you different alternatives as we go along, but I just wanted to get you started on this skull. Probably the hardest part is to actually draw the skull shape in the first place, because if you've never drawn a skull and suddenly I said, oh, turn that paper plate into a skull, where on earth would you begin? So I'm trying to find a way that I can show you a simple way to mark a skull onto a paper plate, simple instructions so that it looks something like you want it to, rather than just saying draw a skull. So I'll use a red pen just to give you some guidelines to sketch in onto a regular paper plate that you might have at home. And I'm using the plate the right side up to mark this on. So the side that I would put my food on, that's the side that I'm going to draw my outline on. I'm not actually going to do the finished piece on that side, just the outline. So the best way I can describe this, and I will try to hold this up if I put something solid behind it, use my sketches everywhere. So for you guys, I'm doing upside down. It will look like an arch, an N shape. I'm going to come up one side of my paper plate, a straight line, until I come to the outer rim, but before the ridges start, of the paper plate, which I'm going to follow round. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to lay that down to do this. If I show you. Follow round at the top, like that, so I've come straight up from the bottom, straight up, following that ridge that's there for us already as a paper plate. And then when I'm at the same side, same place on the opposite side of the plate, I'm just going to come down. You can tell I haven't rehearsed this speech, I'm just blagging it, so I'm sorry if I twitter on, but you'll get the idea. So you get that kind of arched shape there. This is going to form the top of the skull. And again, using the paper plate as a guide to get the cheek marks, this area here, underneath the eye sockets. The way I work that out is, you can see the rim where the ridges become smooth on the plate. From that point, I'm just going to draw a sort of diagonal line. It's all very square at the moment. We're going to round it off about 3 centimetres in from each side, from the edge of that arch. And then very simply, draw straight down. So that is the basis of our skull, and at the moment it's very square, very angular, a bit clunky, but we can start to round off those corners and make it look more like a skull. So I'm just going to swap from my red pen, which gave us the guidelines, over to a black pen to show you how we can round off some of those corners. So all I'm going to do on the corners here of each cheekbone, that part here on the skull, just round off that corner edge there. You might round this edge round here, just soften it up a little bit. The top, you can see, is already lovely and circular, or semicircular I should say, but again you can come in and out with a bit of a wobbly line there if you want to, a bit more authenticity, but you don't have to do that. And again at the bottom here, I'm just going to curve in at the bottom where our teeth will be. So if I go around the entire thing with a black line, going over those amendments, like so, I'm hoping those guidelines can help you see how you get the shape of that skull. When you get to that stage, grab yourself a pair of scissors, and a bit Blue Peter styley like, I know. You're going to cut out your skull. Like that. Now what we're going to do now is all the drawing is going to go on the back of the paper plate. So at the moment our paper plate, if I hadn't cut it away, would sit this way up. We want to decorate the back of the plate, the part that would sit on the table. That's the part we're going to put our eyes, nose and decorations on. The reason for it is, as you can see, the paper plate is ridged at the bottom there. And the way the ridges sit is where our teeth are going to go. Okay, it gives us the lovely guidelines for our teeth. So let's crack on. We're going to mark in the features, and I think again, if I use this as a ball to hold it onto, I'll grab a dark pen that you can see. I really should have rehearsed this first. So the eyes sit almost at the edge of that cheekbone. If I draw them round. And they don't have to be symmetrical at all. It's an old battered up skull, but they're like a bit like a wobbly right angle triangle really. One on one side. Look how close to the edge of the skull I've taken that. I'm going to draw the second eye on very, very quickly. Like so. I've got one eye bigger than the other. I can see that straight away. Not at all fussed. The nose is going to sit pretty close to those eyes. And it's a peculiar old shape. It comes down in the middle and round. If that's too complex, just do a simple triangle there. That's absolutely fine. Once the nose is in, you can actually colour the nose in black. I'll very quickly do that for you. Like so. I haven't yet coloured in the eyes. You have got the option here, if you want to actually turn it into a mask, to cut those eyes out. But what I like to do, and when I've researched this, a lot of the Day of the Dead skulls have got flowers or spider webs or hearts within the eye shape. So what I would suggest was, I'm sorry again, I'm going to have to put the boards down. I'm going to very quickly draw a flower in there. You can use, these are paint pens that I have. You can use felt tip pens, crayons, anything that you've got at home. You could even cut out flowers from cardboard, tissue paper, collage from a magazine, something to decorate the inside of the eye. And then all I will do is colour in around that flower, like so. You get the idea. Now I have got a finished mask, as I showed you earlier. It's not symmetrical because it's got all different sorts of ideas on there, but this is a sort of eye that I was drawing here, where I've marked in the flower and I've coloured in around the outside. I've also coloured in the nose, as you can see, and at any point, if you're actually going along with this video, you can pause the video, catch up to that point and then restart it. I'm just going to keep going, so ignore me twittering. If you've got any gemstones, these are an absolute buy from the pound shop. Pound, you get them all different sizes, they're fantastic. Like so, if you've got your sequins or bling, you can see that I've outlined around the eye. then you can do it as many times as you want, alternating patterns or the same colour, more than one ring of gemstones. It's entirely up to you. If you haven't got anything sparkly like that, I'm sure you can find stuff around the home. So you might have some buttons. I've got a pot of buttons. You might have some silver foil or paper cake cases that you can cut circles out of. You could use those. Anything to add a bit of sparkle. You might even have some glitter. So you'd put the glue around the eye and sprinkle the glitter over the top. It just adds a little bit of sparkle. Now, before I move on any further, I just want to go over something that you can do to the outline of the skull to make it a little bit more realistic, a little bit more 3D. And again, you don't need big materials around to do this. All I would suggest, hold this up, hold it up there, is we're going to put a bit of shading around the outside edge or the perimeter of the skull. Hope you're all okay there. Switch it on. You can either use a lead pencil, and you can see you just shade in. I'm going to have to hold it down and I hold it up. So I'm going to shade in around the edge of my skull. This is if you've only got a lead pencil, like so. So you would do that all the way around the skull, and then take your finger and give it a good old smudge to give it some shade all the way around the outside edge. If you have any grey paint, you grab some grey paint quickly here. You could have exactly the same effect by going around the outside edge with a grey paint to give it shade. If you haven't got that, but you might have, let's see what else we can use. A felt tip pen, grey felt tip pen. Here we go, the right end of it. You could add some shade with a grey felt tip pen as well. There's lots of options there. Don't feel like you've got to go down to these expensive art shops, and I know they're expensive, to achieve an effect. Okay, so we've got pencil with a good smudge. If you've got any paint, you could apply paint, or you could use a felt tip pen. Or if you haven't got any of them, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It just adds a bit extra to the design, as you can see. So ignore the mouth just for a second, we're going to come on to that in a sec. There's our shaded skull going all the way round. So by this point, if you've stopped and played and paused and whatever the video, you will have a skull that has shading all the way around the outside edge. You'll have eyes that are either cut out if you're making a mask, or coloured in with a pattern on the inside, and you'll have this nose shape here. You may also have put sequins around the eyes, or as we said, cut out sparkly bits and pieces to decorate around the eyes there. If I just hold that up so you can see again. All I'm doing now as I'm talking to you, I'm quickly checking my notes to see if there's anything else I need to tell you about that before we move on to the teeth. But there's not. Now, the reason we chose the paper plate, as I said at the start, it's got this already built-in ridged edge for us, which is going to provide the basis for the teeth. Now, if I just show you a mouth, if you were going to draw a mouth, like so, let's break it down so it's nice and simple. Or you can just go wild and do your own mouth, but I'll give you a quick demo. I start off with this, with a very gentle smile. Very gentle, happy line going across here. Looking at the front teeth, the two front teeth are the biggest, so they're the two arches there. So it looks like an M. I know I've done one bigger than the other. It's hard drawing upside down. Now, as I carry on with the arches of the teeth, they're going to get smaller as they come to the edge of that smiley line, because they're disappearing back into the jaw there. They're in perspective. So these are going to get smaller as they go back on both sides. I dread to think what this looks the right way up, but from upside down it's not too bad. And the same goes for the bottom. So we have the upside down end, the two bottom teeth, and again these U shapes get smaller as they come up to that outside edge of the mouth, like so. I'll just finish this one off, and then to make it really skull-like, because obviously the skull hasn't got any lips, it's got no flesh, it's all bone, you're going to just draw a kind of box around those teeth that you drew, like so, very, very roughly. Oop, gone right over the line there. And then you colour in with the black around the teeth. Hope you can see that. Okay. So it ends up looking like this. And if you've got the time and you want to really go for realistic, you can also put some shading, as I have. I'll try and hold it up around the teeth there. So you shade just like you did around the outside edge of your plate, around each tooth, and give it a gentle smudge. But again, that is totally optional. I'm just throwing out ideas there for you. So then at this point, you will have your eyes, your nose, and your teeth. And what is really good is when you come to draw that mouth onto your skull, the teeth lines are kind of already there for you. They're the ridges of the plate, which makes it a whole lot easier. I'll hold that up for you to see. So that's all our features in. That's the hardest part of it all. Now comes the fun part, which is where you let your imagination run wild and you're going to decorate like crazy. I'm just going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you how to do a spider's web, because most of the skulls I looked at when I was looking at this for research had spider's webs on them. I've got a little one here, for example, that has spider's webs for the eyebrows that you can see. They're also really heavily adorned with flowers, and I'll show you another way you can do flowers as well, unless you have any flowers like this that you might have at home. These are actually from Hobbycraft, but please don't make a visit there especially. You can make these out of, you know, newspaper and not newspaper, colour paper and scraps of things, that material you have at home. So don't go to any expense with that. Right, the spider web that lives at the top of the skull's head, if you're going to go for the spider web look. Let me place this on here, and I will try and break this down really simply for you. If you draw a line going up from the middle of the forehead to the top of the head, like so, then coming out from that centre point here at the top of the head, you're going to draw lines at a diagonal. I think I could probably get in, and you can do them curved if you want to, but I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep them straight. 1, 2, 3, like so, on one side, and 1, 2, 3 on the other, as you can see. Now, to make it into that spider's web, what I need you to do is like a loopy arch. Okay, so we're going to go from one end of the line to the next with a loopy arch, or a sad looking face. So it's like a sad looking face from one to the other, one to the other, and it kind of looks like a bit like the bottom of an umbrella at the moment, and all the way to the other side. You're going to repeat that process over and over again as you move inside the web. So loopy loops, keep them loopy and not square, keep that lovely curve going on, and that makes it look really, really realistic. So I'm going to go right the way across, hoping it looks the right way up. And as I'm getting closer and closer to the point, can you see that the gap between the lines is getting smaller and smaller and smaller? Again, you don't have to do that, but I'm just throwing in the extra detail there if you wanted to know. So I'm just going to finish that off. Like so, that will give you a spider's web. And you could have a spider, as we have here on the 3D one. You could actually have a spider hanging down from the web if you wanted to. Totally optional. If you liked the look of the spider web eyebrows on this one, you could have a go at those as well. So I'll quickly show you that. That's the right way up. So you might have an eyebrow like so, almost like a triangle, but without that third edge. And then you draw your lines out just as we did before, like so. And once again, you would have the loops, loopy arches coming in as they meet each line. Okay, so now the fun really begins. This is where it's over to you, and depends totally on what you have lying around at home. If you've only got felt tip pens, you could go for decoration. You can Google Day of the Dead decorated skulls and there's, oh my gosh, tons and tons of ideas on there. Lots and lots of flowers involved. You could add flowers, you could add shapes, you could add triangles. Hearts are really quite popular from what I've seen on there. You could do these sort of random shapes here that you can see around by where his moustache would be. If you have got paint at home but you haven't got any sticky on flowers, for example, I'll show you a really simple way that you can achieve a very effective flower if you've got any cotton buds lying around at home, things you normally clean your ears with. So you can paint with these cotton buds and print with them. So I've just dipped this into some paint. I'm going to do a flower here. So that would be my blue centre made with a cotton bud. Oh, these are all a bit gungy where I've been using them today. Let me grab another cotton bud out. Like so. One sec. And then you could take a second colour and just push the cotton bud around that centre circle, printing a little flower as we go, like that. Like so. If I show you that actually on one of the skulls here, you can see how we've achieved that effect. There's one there that's done with paint. This one here, I've used a sequin or a sparkle that I showed you on the sheet from the pound shop as the centre of the flower. So you can be as elaborate and as bling-like as you want to with this, or just keep it really simple. It's totally up to you. I'll just come back to my original picture. The whole idea with the Day of the Dead skulls is to actually cover the whole thing in wonderful pattern and colour. So if I hold that up, you can have some ideas there, the sort of shapes that I've used over the eyebrows, around the side of the head there. These are the flowers that I've started to print on. If you do like that printing method with the cotton buds, and I love it because A, it's really simple, B, it's really effective, and C, you don't have to wash the cotton buds up at the end of it, you can just throw them away. But if you like that effect, again, let me find you another skull. It's a great way to fill an area. Can you see that one there? We've just put lots of different dots of different colours on this 3D skull, but you can achieve the same thing elsewhere on your 2D paper plate mask of the skull as well. I did have the pleasure of working with a girl who wanted to make a great big Day of the Dead poster, so we worked on this together, and again these were some of the ideas of the things that we use around the home. So if you've got any sequins, they said, right, you can block in an area with sequins. These are the buttons that we were talking about that she turned into flowers. She used some celery. If you cut through a block of a bunch of celery at the bottom end, you can print and get some lovely rose-shaped flowers there. She used spots, obviously, different patterning. Got a big flower down there at the chin. So there's loads and loads of ideas of things that you could do to decorate your Day of the Dead skull. I'm just going to have one final look at my notes to see if I've told you everything. I think I have. The last thing to do, obviously, as I said earlier, if you wanted to turn it into a hold up sort of masquerade type mask, which you can do. If you've got a lolly stick at home, you can just stick it at the back there with some tape. If you haven't got a lolly stick but still want to achieve this effect, think of something else rigid, a piece of cardboard, cereal box. You make a handle quite happily with that. If you don't want to turn it into a mask and you don't want to cut out the eyes, again, you can make a few of these and string them up for Halloween to decorate a porch with or something like that, or just blue tack them up on the wall. So yeah, that's a quick craft activity if you're stuck in this week. I will be posting again tomorrow. I'm not used to doing this. I'm not used to being in front of the camera at all, as you can probably tell. But tomorrow I will show you a way of making these. If I hold them up. So just using either toilet roll or card that you might have at home. So we've got a Dracula version here. And Frankenstein. You don't have to have googly eyes. I can show you how to get around not using the googly plastic eyes that we've got there. I've got a mummy, but again, you don't need to go out and buy a crepe bandage. You could use, I don't know, kitchen roll, or an old pillowcase that you might have at home, or an old sock that you don't want to use, that you might want to throw away, but you could use for this instead. And the last one, whoop, he's fallen over. The last one's a pumpkin. So I've used a variety of cards there. You might have paint at home that you could use, but I'm hoping that you have most of these materials at home and you can have a go at this craft activity tomorrow. I don't know if this helps anyone. I hope it does. Like I say, I'm Kelly. I'm from Bespoke Creative Design. If you are interested in any of the paid for workshops, which I'm running on Thursday and Friday of this week, so that's the 29th and the 30th of October, I've got morning and afternoon sessions still available. You have to be local to Bexley Heath for those because all the materials are delivered to your door. The ones that have been joining me from Bedford and Scotland applied a long while ago and they've had their materials sent to them, which obviously I won't have time to in the post, but I'm happy to drive around with a package for you if you wanted to make one of these LED Day of the Dead skulls. Okay, so I'll put my link at the bottom of this demo, whatever you want to call it. Hope you enjoyed it, and like I say, if you want to join me again tomorrow, I will teach you how to make these Halloween cheap and easy to produce, what we call them, sculptures, pots, tubes, not sure. Join me tomorrow. Take care, stay safe, bye.